There is something about the pads going on that just flips a switch in this Colts offense, and the quarterbacks were strong again today. Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Colts, your daily Indianapolis Colts podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right. Thanks for tuning in and making us your first listen of the evening and maybe tomorrow morning. This is your daily podcast covering your Indianapolis Colts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off of your first purchase. What is up, everybody? This is Jake Arthur from HorseshoeHuddle.com. I'm your resident credentialed media member for the site, giving you everything possible that I can about Colts training camp here. Hopefully you've been able to follow along, getting all these interviews that you could see, all these clips and shorts and daily wrap-ups. But the best thing I think we could do for you here is give you a daily post-practice episode, giving you the complete rundown of what has happened each and every day. And today was day 6. It was the second consecutive day and second day overall in full pads. And I think it's a breath of fresh air because it has brought some much better offense to the table, especially from the quarterback position. And this is about the third day in a row, or the third day out of the last 4 practices, that you could say the quarterbacks had a really strong day or, looked better. Saturday was pretty rough for them, but basically since last Friday, with the exception of Saturday, they've been doing really, really well. And now 2 days in a row in pads and 2 days in a row that both Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones have given reason for a lot more optimism at the quarterback position because it was pretty rough on Saturday. Let's see. Today, the focus of the offense was it was kind of wide open. They were working full field stuff. They went in the red zone, first, second, third down. So the playbook was kind of open today. Injuries, they are unfortunately here. They have arrived just as you knew they would because it is Colts training camp after all. Luckily, the Colts haven't had anything huge like a lot of other teams have been dealing with yet. But here's a little rundown from today. So Zaire Franklin is still out. The Colts do hope to get him back sometime this week. Alec Pierce was back. He missed Monday's practice with what Shane Steichen described as a nasty blister on his foot. However, here are the guys that did not practice today at all. Juju Brent's hamstring, David Long Jr. groin, Cameron McGrone quad, Salvin Ahmed back injury. They all missed today. Guys who got hurt during practice today. Michael Pittman had a groin injury. I don't think that one's too bad. I saw him getting stretched out on the sideline after. Who knows? They have a day off tomorrow, and then they have a night practice Thursday. So we'll see if that's enough time for him to rebound and get back. But the most notable injury of the day is cornerback Jalen Jones, who is in the competition to still maintain that, second outside cornerback spot. He went down non-contact during one-on-ones today with a hamstring injury. Now, it looked painful enough to where he was on the ground for a while, being tended to by trainers for a while. And then he did have to go out off the field on a cart. So it did not just look kind of like a normal one where you kind of hop off the field. Hopefully it's not too serious. I don't know if they have to get any imaging done or anything. But it did not look like the typical hamstring injury, but knock on wood, all your fingers crossed that everything is A-okay with him, especially if Juju Brents is going to be dealing with another, kind of soft tissue thing or hamstring. Those he's had hamstring injuries before. We know he's no stranger to having to miss ample time. So that certainly means that Justin Walley and Samuel Womack are going to kind of have to step up alongside Kenny Moore and Charvarius Ward. So housekeeping out of the way, let's get to these quarterbacks. Anthony Richardson was a dang near spotless day up until the very final section of 11 on 11s. He finished the day 10 of 15, and I think only had 1 or 2 incompletions up until that final drive. So he finished 10 of 15. He had red zone touchdowns to Michael Pittman Jr., Mo Alley Cox, and Josh Downs. The one from Downs was really, really nice. That one was, I think, at the edge of the red zone, about 20 yards. Bought a little time, scanned the field, and found Downs in the, crossing across the end zone in traffic and was able to get that converted. So that was a really, really nice play by the two of them. Pardon me. He also had a short rushing touchdown in the red zone. So with him, you're kind of seeing a little bit of everything other than the traditional letting it rip downfield every play. It seems like he's trying to be very intentional about not doing that all the time. And, I'm sure it's been hammered into his head over and over and over that, football is a game of inches. It's not do or die, and you have to get the ball beyond the sticks every single play. He has uncorked it a couple times. And oddly enough, the deep ball looks a little off for him so far. He had one today. Actually, I would say most of the deep balls I've seen him throw this summer that have gone beyond like 35 or so yards have been a little underthrown. We know he can get those there, obviously. I don't know if he's fine-tuning stuff. He's obviously been very much working on his mechanics and footwork and everything. So this is the time to be working on things and get things ironed out. I'm not real concerned about that, again, because we know he can get it there. His arm strength is not a problem at all, and we have seen him throw the ball a million yards. So it is just still noteworthy overall, though. In the 7-on-7s, he had a couple really nice corner shots, one to Tyler Warren and one to Josh Downs. I think the one to Warren was about 20 yards and Downs was about 15. He got both of those over Kenny Moore, who, I don't know if it was maybe depth or not, maybe just getting a guy caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. But Anthony put a couple beautifully placed balls over Moore's fingertips, just right where they needed to go into the receiver's hands at the sideline. So that corner route is something that Anthony's getting very, very good at throwing. If you guys remember, that's something like Andrew Luck and T.Y. Hilton. That was something those two could connect on in their sleep, and it was like an automatic 20, 25 yards. I would love to see Anthony continue to work on that. If you could get a guy like Josh Downs, for example, it seems like a very good 80 Mitchell route as well. If he can get like on the same wavelength with someone consistently, that could be a staple of the Colts playbook. I would really like to see that happen. Outside of Anthony, Daniel Jones had a pretty solid day as well. He was 7 of 10 during 11-on-11s. He had an early touchdown in the red zone to Ashton Doolin. He also had a short rushing touchdown. Some of my favorite, plays by him today. He had, again, a corner route about 20 yards. He had one of those to Josh Downs later on in the day. That one was pretty successful. I think that one was in the final session of 11-on-11s. And got into that. If you guys were out there at Grand Park today, the heat was unbelievable. And it was a longer practice day, again, in full pads. So to see those guys still with the stamina at the end of the day to be making big plays like that. And Jones' arm strength looked pretty good today, I would say. So I think that was a fairly positive sign of things to see. Something I am noticing with Jones, though, and this is not to compare him to Anthony by any means. We all know Anthony has the warts in his game, but you've heard me talk about Daniel being late on stuff and the timing just being off. So there's a pretty big difference from him in 7-on-7s versus 11-on-11s. When he's in 7-on-7s and there's not a pass rush and he has time, the guy has outstanding timing and anticipation. We're talking about throwing guys open, throwing the ball, getting rid of it, and having it there in the spot it needs to be. Like by the time the receivers are getting out of their breaks, like he literally, it's beautiful stuff. Like think of things you see with Matthew Stafford all the time. Like Daniel Jones is awesome in 7-on-7s, but then in 11-on-11s, when you get that pass rush going and there's a little more pressure, that's when his mechanics start to slide a little bit. You see him backpedaling. He's late on stuff and he's kind of locking in on guys. It's encouraging to know that it's there, because being able to throw guys open like that is like elite accuracy and timing, the anticipation. It's chef kiss. But I don't know if you can really develop more poise as your career goes on. And again, he started like 69 games in his career. So at a certain point, you probably are who you are. But it is good to see that like he does have some of that in him. So if the offensive line can really step up this year and give him ample time to throw, then Daniel Jones, if he is the starter, of course, like let's say Anthony wins it and then, Daniel just has to be the backup all year, then that is a moot point. But if Daniel Jones wins the competition and the offensive line is really, really stout, then I can vouch for him that there is some really good stuff in there. But we'll see what it looks like when the Bullets fly. There's a couple preseason games coming up, so we'll be able to tell pretty sure coming up. And all right, so looking at the rest of the offense after this, guys, it's good to see the quarterback stepping up and those around them stepping up as well. Something about the tide rising all ships or whatever that quote is, because we have seen instances where the quarterbacks have kind of stepped up and the pass catchers have been dropping the balls and everything. But everyone's kind of stepped their game up a little bit. So we'll talk about the offense here in just a moment. We've all been there, logging on early and waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show that you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories and not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping, and that's where Gametime comes in. Gametime makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime, and you can save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute deals. If you're tired of endless scrolling, trying to find the best deal, then Gametime Zone Deals pick the best seats in your section for you. You will love that one. And if you've ever wondered what your view will actually look like before you buy, you've never been to that venue before and you're traveling out of town to go see something, they've got you covered. There are no surprises there. So take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, let's talk about the rest of the gang everydayers. We're still talking offense. So Michael Pittman Jr., before he left for the day with that groin injury, he got a lot of attention. He had several catches throughout 7-on-7s and 11-on-11s with both quarterbacks. Anthony Richardson in particular was looking his way early and often, and it just looked so routine for him. Whatever the route was, I think there was I think he got him on kind of a shorter go route, maybe about 15 to 20 yards. There were some deep crossers in there as well. Pittman was just really on it before he left for the day. Josh Downs, who I had mentioned, had a couple uncharacteristic days where he just was dropping the ball and just did not look like himself. Normally a very sure-handed player who can begin making moves immediately because of how natural catching the ball is for him. He's kind of looking like his old self again. So I wasn't really concerned about him because his body of work in his 2 years is literally unrivaled when it comes to Colts wide receivers. But good to see nonetheless that he's kind of backed himself. The most encouraging thing I think all of you will enjoy, though, AD Mitchell has strung 2 strong days together in a row. So yesterday he was kind of targeted throughout the day. And now that one-on-ones are there and the pads are on and everything, it's kind of suited for a guy like that to succeed because it's just size and athleticism against the opponent. And he is normally going to have his cup a little more full when it comes to those physical gifts. He performed really well today, mostly in one-on-ones and 7-on-7s. Still waiting for like that huge performance during 11s. It's probably coming at some point. But there was a really good play during one-on-ones where he won a deep out against Justin Walley. Anthony put it perfectly kind of low and towards the sideline, and Mitchell was there to get low and make that catch. But during 7-on-7s, Mitchell and Daniel Jones were really connecting, which is good news because on Saturday, when the quarterbacks were performing really, really poorly, it did not look like AD Mitchell was super thrilled with Jones' ball placement during one-on-ones. So to see them connect like they did was really good. So it was 3 straight passes during 7-on-7s where Jones went to Mitchell. First, it was like a go route down the left sideline for about 30 yards. I think Mitchell leaped up and got it over Samuel Womack, I believe it was, in coverage. And then Jones found him on just like a simple 5-yard slant. But as soon as Mitchell caught it, he had this really kind of nifty spin move to get out of harm's way and create some space. And for him to not only be able to catch the ball quickly, but make a move so suddenly after that, I thought was hopefully a sign of the game kind of slowing down for him and him calming down, which I think is probably his biggest problem. It seems like a mental thing because he did not look like this in college, where we're seeing all these issues with drops and, not really welcoming contact so much. I don't want to straight up say the guy's afraid of contact, but I think we all know what the optics of it are. It certainly looks that way at times. So he looked more comfortable today. And then the other one, I think it was like a 15-yard out route again for him to pick up from Jones. So pretty productive day for A.D. Mitchell, a guy who I think I've probably mentioned just about every day that he has performed well is Anthony Gould. Today during one-on-ones, he beat Cam Bynum twice. The first one was on just kind of a short slant route, and the release that he got absolutely cooked Bynum. He got a ton of space there. And then the next one he had on him was, I think Anthony was on the throw, and it was like a 30-yard touchdown. So Bynum has had a great summer, but Anthony Gould really kind of took him to school there in one-on-ones. It was great to see. Gould continues to impress. The coaches are saying good things. We're seeing good things from him every day. So strong summer from him. Just kind of one of those good problems to have. You have a lot of receivers who are performing well, but how on earth do you get all these guys involved? You can hardly get A.D. Mitchell involved, and that's a guy who desperately needs the reps. Arguably the play of the day offensively was your guy's boy, Riley Leonard. So obviously when you look at Riley Leonard, you think of, going through reads is an issue and the arm strength is kind of an issue. But I'm telling you, he uncorked a beauty today. So he found DJ Montgomery deep for like a 75-yard touchdown. And that thing had to have about 40, 45 air yards on it at least. It was a perfect pass. He put it to Montgomery out in stride. I think it was Jonathan Edwards was in coverage there. Just a beautiful play. Leonard going to Laquan Treadwell regularly throughout camp. DJ Montgomery. Those are the guys he really needs to lean on because those are two guys that have kind of been mainstays on the Colts practice squad. And whenever someone gets injured, the Colts tend to move those guys up. So Leonard very wisely finding kind of those best guys to go to. And then in the run game, we've definitely seen an uptick in the run game these last couple of days with the pads coming on and the offensive line performing like it is. They're really starting to get some push now that the pads are on and they're able to kind of impose their will as much as they're physically able to. DJ Giddens, if you guys followed the Colts Twitter page, you probably saw he had a really nice deep run to the left side earlier. And then Tyler Goodson had a short little touchdown in the red zone as well. So productive day running the ball as well. The quarterbacks had a couple good runs. So I'm really digging the fact that the pads are on and the offensive line can finally start doing some things. We're almost a week away from this preseason game against the Ravens now, guys. So seeing these guys really starting to ramp up, and we're seeing very positive things with still at an early portion of camp, which gives me optimism. And that's really all you can hope to have going into it against a team like the Ravens. That's certainly the cream of the crop in the NFL. So plenty of defensive notes to come up as well, guys. But here first, let's hear from our sponsors. This episode is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. Fantasy football is back, so fire up the group chat, get your draft board ready, and buckle up for a season filled with breakouts, busts, and all the overreactions that we all live for. It's all going down on Yahoo Fantasy. This year, Zach and I are both playing in Yahoo Fantasy, and shoot, you should too. Whether you're a first-timer or a veteran making your millionth league, you guys have heard me talk about, I've been in a few Yahoo leagues for like over a decade. I've won them all. I enjoy staying in those leagues. I really like the interface there. I think their waiver wire is the best one out there. I think it's very user-friendly, and it requires the fewest amount of tabs to be open, I think. Everything you need to know is right there. It's very user-friendly again. And to celebrate 28 years of fantasy greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days, giving you more ways to play, more ways to draft, and more ways to win. And it all begins on August 4th. So stay tuned to get started by creating or joining a Yahoo Fantasy Football League at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. That's yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. and let's make this fantasy season the best one yet. Welcome back, everydayers. We've talked about the quarterbacks, we've talked about the offense, but now we got to talk about that defense. It's the group that has been consistent throughout camp, throughout these 6 days, and I've got some more positive notes to speak here for you. So I was talking to someone today, and they brought up a really good point of like, where are the sacks? Where's the pass rush? And it's a good point. I do feel like there are fewer like blatant sacks than there have been in years past. So how it goes, if you've never been to like a training camp practice, you obviously can't really touch the quarterbacks. So there are some times where there is a like would-be sack, I like to call them, that's so blatant that they just blow the whistle. But oftentimes, the defender will, hurry the quarterback out of the pocket. They'll go on the run and they'll keep the play alive, or the quarterback will move up in the pocket and get rid of the ball. The play lasts a lot longer than it should. And that's kind of when I tack on these would-be sacks. And you kind of have to use your discretion of that would have probably been a sack in a game. So considering the fact that every single one of these Colts quarterbacks are on the more mobile side, obviously Anthony Richardson, Daniel Jones, another year removed from that ACL, he looks like he's got plenty of motor still as well. Jason Bean, Riley Leonard, these are all guys who have a rich history of running the ball. And so you're getting way fewer of those like blatant sacks where they just blow the whistle. But I have still seen plenty of instances of guys like Leatu Latu, Kwity Paye, DeForest Buckner, of course, getting the quarterbacks on the move and out of the pocket. So that is kind of where the pass rush is. We'll see, hopefully, if it results in sacks. The guy everyone's waiting to see if he can get more sacks this year is Leatu Latu. We talked to him after practice today, and he said he thinks he's done the necessary work in the offseason. He's kind of identified the issues, and he thinks he's rectified it, and that he's going to be finishing more of these plays for sacks because he got in the backfield a lot. He just didn't necessarily finish. So he said he worked on his strength. Definitely more film work, kind of understanding the way that offensive tackles are going to be approaching him. So we're going to, again, keep our fingers crossed that Latu takes that jump, gets a lot closer, if not over the double-digit sack barrier, because they need it. I think they're going to be very kind of dependent on him taking a big leap. But one guy who did come away with a sack that it didn't get blown dead, but I think it certainly would have been called a sack in a game. Kwity Paye flushed Daniel Jones out of the pocket. I think he certainly would have wrapped him up and been able to bring him down in a game. Another good pass rush. It wasn't a sack, but JT Tuimoloau was kind of bearing down on Jason Bean and being reared back for the pass, and Tuimoloau immediately got in the air and killed the play before it ever really got going. Bean just threw it right into his chest for a nice pass breakup. So heady play by Tuimoloau, a guy who is, it's smart enough to know if you're not going to get to the quarterback, get those hands up or get in the air. Do something that's going to disrupt the pass. So got a smart defensive in there that understands what he's doing. One defensive back moving backwards in the defense, a defensive back that had a pretty solid day. Samuel Womack had 2 pass breakups during the one-on-ones against Alec Pierce, and then another against Landon Parker. And then he had a defensive pass interference later during the developmental period, which has kind of become commonplace for him. I think he's got at least a few DPI calls in camp. He's very grabby, very, very physical in coverage. I think you guys saw a little bit of that last year, obviously later in the year when the wheels kind of started to fall off a little bit. So along with Womack, Justin Walley is going to have to step up a bit for X amount of time with Juju Brents and Jalen Jones being out with their hamstring injuries. Walley, I mean, again, we don't know how long these other guys are out, but Walley, you almost have to think, has just now kind of won that other outside cornerback job by default, because the guy has taken like all the first team reps every single day. He's worked at both outside corner spots and the slot. I mean, he started again today. I think that was the second day in a row that he was out there on the outside, because he's been moving around a lot. And I mean, if Jones is out with a hamstring injury that caused him to be on the ground for as long as he was and then be carted off, he's probably going to miss an okay amount of time. We know Juju Brents has missed ample time with, hamstring injuries and things like that throughout his career. So, I mean, if you're just going to be sitting here with Walley getting all the first team reps for 1 week, 2 weeks, however long it is, I mean, he's probably going to start. I mean, it seemed like it was kind of trending that way anyways. You hate for it to be kind of won by default through injury. But I mean, if you look at it this way, he was perhaps going to win the job anyways. But it definitely takes a hit to the cornerback depth. But, kudos to Chris Ballard for building this group so mightily. That's a lot of depth there. If you look at it last year and Juju Brents and Samuel Womack were both out, they would have been really screwed. But now it's not the biggest deal in the world. So good thing they've got that cornerback depth to kind of absorb this issue here. Let's see. I've kind of mentioned the developmental period a couple times. That is just, they get like young guys out there and kind of bottom of the roster guys that they just don't really get to give snaps to during practice for the most part. It's mostly like your third and fourth string guys. And to say the defense dominated that session would be a bit of an understatement. So let's see. You had a run blown up by Isaiah Land. And actually, no, it was linebacker Solomon DeShields. There was a sack by Isaiah Land on Jason Bean. There was a drop shotgun snap on a bad snap by Jason Bean in the center. I think Wesley French might have been the center on that. Jason Bean threw an interception to Hunter Wooler, which Hunter Wooler is another guy that is just, again, stacking those days. He's had a couple huge hits. It's a guy that loves physicality and is going to really stand out when the pads come on. He certainly did Monday. He had a couple big plays last week. The interception was funny because, this is a developmental period. It's a lot of guys out there, again, who don't get a lot of playing time, and they may not look the most natural out there on the field. So when you drop kind of a ringer in there who is perhaps a pretty good football player, they just stand out and they do not look like they're on the same level. It's like dropping a varsity player in with the freshman team. And that's kind of what Hunter Wooler looks like. He just so quickly made a play out there. And I don't even think they put him back in on the developmental period. Cause okay, I don't think you need to be out here for this. We asked Lou Anarumo about Hunter Wooler after practice today, and he just got kind of a big smile on his face and chuckled a little bit. So you can tell that Wooler is really making a strong impression on Anarumo, which, fast forward a month or so, and we'll see how much playing time that results in. Let's see. Not a lot of fights and, skirmishes, scuffles, melees, Donniebrooks, whatever you want to call them, throughout camp. But there was a little bit of a dust up today. Grover Stewart felt like injecting a little chaos into it. So Daniel Jones had just a little dump off to Jonathan Taylor for a couple yards, and Stewart was right there, grabbed him and just threw him on the ground. And this was not a live tackling period or anything, so it was too rough for the moment. It was too much. But Taylor immediately hopped up and got in Stewart's face, and then several of the offensive players kind of took offense to it. It kind of ended when Quentin Nelson got involved. No punches thrown or anything. Grover Stewart is obviously a very well-respected member of that locker room. But the offensive guys were definitely going to stick up for their guy and let him know, like, you obviously can't do that. So I don't know why Stewart elected to do that. Maybe, again, he just felt like injecting a little bit of chaos into the situation. But, goal achieved. And then we're going to wrap things up here, doing Zach's favorite thing, talking about the kickers. So like we mentioned, Spencer Schrader kicked on Monday, nailed all 5 of his field goals. So it was Maddox Trujillo's turn today. He kicked 6 field goals and nailed all of those, 33 yards, 39, 45, 49, and then 2 from 54. So the kickers they're pretty much neck and neck right now. I think they've both missed 2 overall, and I think they've kicked the same amount because Spencer Schrader had 1 more than Trujillo last week, and now Trujillo had 1 more than him. So yeah, it's pretty much dead even as far as the kicker battle goes. From what I've seen, I think Schrader is probably a little more accurate, but the ball just kind of explodes off Trujillo's foot. So this is probably going to go down to the wire. They may not make this decision on who's going to be their kicker until cut down day or even week 1 if they want to carry both in, because they're probably going to have the other guy on the practice squad, whatever they decide to do. So it's an underappreciated thing, or one you don't really think about much, but the kicker battle actually is super important for the Colts, because your kicker is often going to be your highest scorer every year. So you want to have a guy that's at least going to be able to convert. So as weird as it feels sometimes, we're going to keep reporting on the kicker battle. And honestly, I think you guys might appreciate this battle a little more than at least Zach does. All right, guys. So again, no practice tomorrow. They will be back on the field at Grand Park Thursday evening. It's a late one. It's 8 p.m., but we are still going to bring you a show. We might do the show Friday morning, just because I don't know if you guys are really going to want to be up at like 1 or 2 in the morning, whatever time it might be. But I will at the very least have my camp notes out on Horseshoe Huddle that night. And again, yeah, we might decide to do the show super late. We might decide to just do it Friday morning. We'll see. But we will do a show talking all about it. Nonetheless, again, thank you guys for making Locked On Colts your first listen of tomorrow, last listen of today. Now for your next listen, check out Locked On Bets. Betting experts Lee Sterling and Kevin Rogers have daily MLB locks and can't miss football futures. Find Locked On Bets on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you guys want to become a Locked On Colts insider, chat with us directly, get the inside scoop, ask us your burning questions that are keeping you up at night. Please follow the link in our show notes. I really enjoy doing that and chatting with you guys, answering those, again, those important questions that you just can't get out of your head. If you don't already, follow at Locked On Colts, at Jake Arthur NFL, and at ZachX2 on Twitter. We're also on TikTok and Instagram. We're on all the things. Also, please feel free to subscribe on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts. Get those ratings, reviews in as well. And with that, we will see you guys again after Thursday's practice.